The first thing I think we must be clear about is that the word drugs is very misleading. Because we have a harmless social institution called a drugstore. It sits on the corner of every city street. And nobody feels that a drugstore is a menace. Then we use the word drug in the word drugged when a person is out, dopey, vague, confused. And among those drugs or chemicals which do alter consciousness, there are vastly different substances with vastly different effects, ranging from caffeine, aspirin, alcohol, marijuana, LSD, mescaline, DMT, psilocybin, heroin, opium, so on. And we should treat each one of them separately instead of lumping them all together, because they're quite different. Now, to put the cat among the pigeons, and you may know this already, and I may be telling no news, but I want to make a provocative statement. The laws of the United States and the programs government-sponsored concerning the use of addictive drugs are a total failure. Not only a total failure, but they're making the problem worse. They are so stupid that anyone supporting those laws must be either a moron or involved in the racket. It's that bad. First of all, we all know that government agencies are self-serving institutions. Let's face it. A person in a government agency wants to keep a job. So we'll consider the Bureau of Narcotics. It is in the interest of that bureau that there be a drug problem, because if there weren't, the bureau would have no reason for existence. And this is true of police matters on a much broader scale, because the drug problem is a subdivision of what we will call sumptuary laws. A sumptuary law is a confusion of church and state. It is a law against sin as distinct from crime. In my definition, although these definitions can always be disputed on, as it were, on the edges, a crime is an offense against society in which somebody is injured and is disposed to complain. A person who is robbed, assaulted, simply doesn't want that to happen. But there are innumerable sins, you might call them, because that's an ecclesiastical term, or we might say crimes without victims, such as gambling, prostitution, drug taking, and various forms of sexual relationship. And when you try to regulate these things by law, you invariably enter into a super colossal mess. Not only is it that government agencies against these things, we'll say narcotics squads, vice squads, so on, have a vested interest in their continuance. But also by prohibiting them, you put up the price of engaging in them. Take heroin. The price of heroin, and bad heroin at that, is colossal. It needs $25 a day to maintain the habit. Therefore, this is one of the most thriving industries in the United States. I have been told that dollar-wise, heroin is the biggest import of the United States. I don't know if this is true. But somebody is doing very well indeed, I hope. The perfect sell. Get the person hooked, and in order to maintain their habit, they have to become a pusher. Sell it, or else a robber. And street crime, mugging, is directly related to the necessity of maintaining the heroin habit. Now, once you make this a matter for police control, you corrupt the police. The police in the United States began to be corrupted at the time of Prohibition. And Mr. Anslinger, who had a job under Prohibition, had to find himself another job. So he selected drugs as the new Prohibition and did very well. He persuaded, by the force of the United States, its prestige, almost all other countries to cooperate in his program, and therefore set up by response, by bounce, the biggest international racket going. One wonders sometimes if Mr. Anslinger didn't profit from it. We can only say that he profited by holding this eminent position. But somebody is making fortunes out of the trade, simply because the price is high, and the price is high because it's forbidden. Any idiot should be able to see that. In the meantime, the police are neglecting their other duties. If you have a robbery, say, in your home, they couldn't be less interested in retrieving the stolen goods. I know a case that happened fairly recently where the police inspectors didn't come around for 2 days after the robbery. And then they sent over a couple of goons in plain clothes. Real goons. And, they sort of shuffled around and looked at things and went off. They don't give a damn. Because they've got too much to do. And they're underpaid. So my proposal is in general that the duties of police be restricted to 4 areas. 1, protecting us from robbery. 2, protecting us from violence. 3, directing traffic. And 4, giving aid to persons in distress.